gotta get my glove on. Decisions. Well, today I'm going to talk about a decision that I made back when I was purchasing my Honda Rebel 500. If you are a Honda Rebel owner, or you've considered the Honda Rebel in the past, you've likely thought about this question that I'm going to be answering today. Should I get the Honda Rebel 300 or the Honda Rebel 500? And that could be whether you're a beginner rider, an experienced rider, or somebody who is getting back into riding. You could also throw in the Honda Rebel 1100 on that, and I can't really speak too much of that because I have the 500, but I'll go ahead and share some thoughts on that as well. Today, we are going to be focused on why I decided to purchase the Rebel 500 instead of the Rebel 300. So stick on around, and let's get into it. Welcome back to the Evergreen Motovlog channel. Thank you all for hanging on out and stopping on by. Alrighty. Getting on the motorcycle. If you like motorcycle content and Honda Rebel content, thank you so much for checking the channel out. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I've got tons of motorcycle content both on the channel and headed your way, so smash that notification bell for future uploads and or live streams. Today we're going to be talking about my Rebel 500 and more so my decision to not get the Rebel 300. Out here today, it is a nice, brisk January 2023 day, mid-January. Got my heated gloves on. Go ahead, I'm going to link that video up here. Check out my video on those. Talked about, how they do. And yeah, I got a link as well below. Oh man, I'm a little warm. It's cold outside, but I guess I overdressed. Oh well, such is life. You always put too many layers on, and then you're too hot, and then when you decide not to, you end up being too cold. Alright, so today I'm going to be primarily talking about the Honda Rebel 300. I want to preface this with saying I have only ridden a Honda Rebel 300 for a short amount of time. That was at the Motorcycle Safety Foundation, the MSF course that I took in order to get my motorcycle endorsement. My experience with the Rebel 300 is relatively limited, but I have had a chance to sit on that bike and ride it a little bit, and I've got plenty of experience, obviously, with the Rebel 500. If you're curious about the Rebel 500, I'm going to go ahead and shift down to first abruptly for no reason. So a little side note, this is like my first time getting out on the bike in 2023, and in the last 3 weeks, I was sick for a while. I feel like the last couple years I've been getting sick right over New Year's, so yeah, that's freaking annoying. It's happened 2 years in a row. Anyway, so I was sick, and then the weather's been crap, and then on the 2 or 3 nice days we have had in the last month, somehow end up finding some way to be busy. But today, taking a little bit of time off of work and getting on the motorcycle, doing a vlog for you guys, and getting some throttle therapy in, But if you are interested in the Honda Rebel 500, I have tons of content on the channel. But why did I decide to go with the Honda Rebel 500 instead of the Honda Rebel 300? That's an interesting question. Glad you asked. Glad you stopped by to ask that question. When I was looking to ride, I was looking around, trying to decide what motorcycle I wanted to get, what would be a good fit for me. And really, it kind of came down to a couple things, right? The aesthetics was one of them. My overall comfort was another one. But additionally, I did want to make sure I got something that was going to be a good fit, that I'd be able to kind of grow into a little bit. I feel like there's probably that fine line between getting something to grow into, but not getting a motorcycle that's going to be too much bike for you to start. So for my unique situation, I had a previous motorcycle experience in the form of a dirt bike. Because of that, I felt like, I can handle, and I know my way around at least, a manual transmission motorcycle. I could definitely see someone who maybe had never ridden a bike before being relatively intimidated with the amount of power that the 500 has. And the reason I say that, because, it's something that I would say you would probably grow into pretty quickly. However, when you're first starting, I think confidence plays a huge role on how you learn, and if you choose to continue riding motorcycles, how often you ride, all of that kind of stuff. And because of that, starting out on something that's too big really could create unnecessary anxiety or cause you to potentially put yourself in a situation that maybe you're not ready to be in. You have the 300 that can be a really fantastic option. When I was thinking through, I was fortunate enough to be in a situation where I could afford the 500 over the 300. So, price wasn't necessarily the issue between the two. So I don't have exact numbers off the top of my head, but I know that the 300 is around $4,500 and the 500 is around $6,500. So it's an extra $2,000, and in the grand scheme of things, I feel like you're getting a solid motorcycle, and it's really not a huge difference in price between the two. It's kind of like that idea, I don't know if you've ever heard, but like, it's always a good idea to get the largest pizza, because you're kind of paying for that upfront cost and then that additional size, even though it's a couple inches because of like the circumference of the whole pizza. You're getting a significant amount more square inch of actual pizza, and so they generally don't price it to reflect that. That's kind of what I would say is how the Honda Rebel 500 versus 300 works. It's the same motorcycle. If I want to talk about real quick, it is the exact same bike other than the engine. So, and of course, I'm sure there's like small things here and there that might be different, but from a core, instrument cluster, gas tank size, transmission, suspension, all of that kind of stuff, that's all the exact same whether you get a Honda Rebel 500 or you get a Honda Rebel 300. So you could sit on both bikes and be completely comfortable with bike size, how it feels, all that kind of stuff. And really it just comes down to power. My main concern with getting the 300 was that I was going to outgrow it too quickly. And I based that partially off of what a lot of people say online, but then also partially off of my personal experience with two wheels in general, right? So I knew, even though I was coming from a smaller motor, I was coming from a 125 that I hadn't ridden in a long time, I still felt like that jump from 125 to, I think it's a 280cc motor, was just not going to be enough. That was going to be nice to start, and I was going to outgrow it very quickly. And when I rode the motorcycles at the MSF course that were all roughly in that 250 to 280, 300cc displacement, I could confirm that. I definitely know where my comfort level's at, and it helped me, with making sure I made the right decision. There are some advantages to getting to the 300, right? So like I said, it's a lot of the same parts with the 300 and the 500. So if your thought process is to get a 300, let's say you've never been on a motorcycle before and you want to get the 300 to start, and then you want to move up and get the 500 or maybe even the 1100. At least from the 500 perspective, a lot of the parts are going to transfer. So if you upgrade things like the Mustang seat, which go ahead and check out my video with that, or the Puig windscreen, got that video as well, or the exhaust, got that video as well. Plethora of videos. Go ahead and check them all out. But if you decide to do any of those mods to your 300 and then realize, man, I really should have gotten the 500, I'm going to outgrow this 300 really quickly, then you can just do the opposite of everything you did to put them on and be like, hey, let's go get a new bike and throw all these other parts on that bike. Now, if you get really comfortable with the 300, there is an argument to maybe going up to the 1100. Double check that those parts work for both. I know some of them do, but I know that some of them don't. So just kind of keep that in mind. Other good things about 300, it's a bike that a lot of people have owned. It turns over relatively quickly, so I think there is a market out there. People do buy them used. It's great if you've got a family member who is thinking about learning to ride. Let's say you get the 300 and then you can upgrade and you can pass that 300 on over to your family member so that they can get comfortable with riding. That would be a great option. Like I said, the price point is great, for $4,500, probably maybe $5,500 out the door. You could finance that. That's not going to be a terrible payment. It allows you to get on a motorcycle. So if budget is a big factor, you can always resell the motorcycle later. And really, if just power concern is something that you're worried about, then the 300 is a great bike to start on for sure. Like I mentioned, I just decided not to get the 300 because I knew that I was going to outgrow the power, and that the 500 gave me an opportunity to enjoy it for longer than I would have if I had gotten the 300. You know, I'm going to be starting my third riding season coming up here pretty soon. Hopefully in the next couple of months we get some decent weather. And I still feel like I can happily enjoy the 500. I keep up with the people I ride with. I could take this motorcycle on the highway and do awesome. I could do longer distance rides. And I think overall this is a good bike. And so, you know, obviously I had to make a guess when I was getting the motorcycle. You're never going to know exactly what the best decision is, right? That's what I talked about at the beginning of the video, is, you know, decisions and decision fatigue, and, you know, really trying to figure out what's going to work for you. I totally understand that. I mean, you could even classify that as like a new rider anxiety, is what kind of bike should I get? Am I going to outgrow this bike? Is it going to be too much power for me? The nice thing is on the 500, one of the things you can do is you can practice your throttle discipline. And if it's a little bit much power-wise to start, just slow down, go back to the parking lot, practice a little bit more, get comfortable with your turns. I highly, highly, highly recommend that if you haven't taken a motorcycle course, there's a lot of benefits and a lot of things that they can teach you. Things that, you know, if I went back and took another course, I would feel like I had a lot more to learn. So taking a motorcycle course is important, but practice is important. So go back, practice, do what you can, and then, you know, I think with a little bit of throttle discipline, you can probably make it work. And that was what I thought in my mind too, right? That was another thing that I decided to do with my motorcycle, or when I bought the 500, was that, you know, if it was going to be too much power, I could just go practice a little bit, practice my throttle control and throttle discipline, and, you know, do my best to try to grow into things. And so I was confident that I could. One of the benefits of getting a motorcycle like the Honda Rebel 1100 would be that it has different mode capabilities, different rider capabilities. So there's things like traction control that would be beneficial, and riding mode, so you could flip it on into rain mode, I've heard, gives you closer to the power of the 500. So, you know, the Rebel 1100, that just gives you a longer time period that you can potentially enjoy the bike for. So what is the right answer, right? What is the right decision? Should I get the 300? Should I get the 500? Should I get the 1100? Well, I don't really know. You know, I don't know if I can answer that question for you in this video. I can explain what helped me make my decisions. And, you know, I encourage you to go out and do research, watch vlogs of people on all bikes and learn from their experience and come to a decision on your own. I highly recommend, like I said, taking an MSF course. A lot of the times they'll have a Honda Rebel 300 there for you to sit on and ride. Other things you can do too is you can schedule test rides, or even just going and sitting on the bike and kind of moving things around and getting a feel for it, and that's what really helped me out. So there's pros and cons, there's benefits to owning all three motorcycles, I think. Right, like I said, so you could get the 300 and then most likely recoup the majority of your costs when you go to sell it, then upgrade to the 500, the 1100. The same probably goes to say about the 500, you know? You could get a 500, learn on that for a little bit, and then upgrade from that bike. So ultimately, I felt like I was going to outgrow the 300 almost immediately, and that's partially due to my previous experience on motorcycles and just kind of what I had learned online and everything like that. And the 500 has proven to be a fantastic bike for me. So I highly recommend it in general. When people ask me about it, I tell them it's an awesome motorcycle, and I do recommend people owning it. But go ahead and, you know, do your own research and come to your own conclusions. That's what this channel is about. I hope I can help share some of my experience and knowledge and ultimately help you make your decisions. And, you know, the answer, like I said, I can't really totally answer that question, what motorcycle you should get, because it's going to be a different answer depending on each individual's specific, unique situation. But what I can say is that both motorcycles are fantastic bikes. Both have benefits, and at the end of the day, if you can just get out and be on two wheels and have a blast, that's really all that's important, right? That's what I enjoy. You know, if I was on a 300 right now, yeah, I wouldn't be able to accelerate as quickly, and I wouldn't, you know, be able to have as much power behind in the throttle, but if I'm not doing a ton of highway riding, then that's probably okay. And it's actually probably a good thing, because now I get to save on some of those MPGs a little bit. But I do like to go on longer rides. I like to ride on the highway, and so that's another reason why I decided to go with the Rebel 500. I knew that I wanted to have something that could keep up with other motorcycles, and just something that I could enjoy for a longer period of time. And as I grow as a rider, you know, things like going on a long distance ride. I don't know if I'll have the video posted at this point or not, but I did a 300-mile round trip ride out to the coast, and I knew that that would be more challenging on a 300. Not to say you couldn't do it on a 300, but it would be a little bit more challenging. That's why I decided to go with the 500. Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are, if you've looked at both motorcycles and what you think is the right decision from your perspective. Like I said, it's going to be different for everybody, but those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think about both motorcycles, and what you think about just in general answering that question, you know, what is the right bike for me? Sometimes you don't end up with the right bike, and that's okay, you know. Buying used can be really beneficial, because a lot of the times, like I said, you can recoup the majority of your costs. I was in orange stage right there, ready for some to pull out in front of me. Yeah, I guess I'm not having enough fun with this motovlog. I'm having fun, but I need to kind of cut loose a little bit and, you know, go f myself. I'm gonna go ahead and enjoy the rest of this ride, enjoy the rest of this day, and yeah, get back to work, because work freaking sucks. But thank you all for stopping by. Go ahead and like the video, leave a comment, let me know what your thoughts are, both on this video, the channel in general, and the Honda Rebel 500, 300, and 1100. Hit the subscribe button. And this is the Evergreen Motovlog channel, reminding y'all to ride safe out there, mind your surroundings, and I'll catch you all on the next one. Peace.